tonight's wow is pretty simple. We are going to be looking at, examining, and talking about Fruit of the Loom. That's right, Fruit of the Loom. You guys all know Fruit of the Loom. They make underwear, they make t-shirts and socks and sweatshirts and everything. And they have since probably the 1950s or 1940s. Fruit of the Loom has always been present in modern society as a apparel manufacturer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you see on the screen here, it says Fruit of the Loom. It looks kind of familiar. Do me a favor right now, in the comments, without Googling it or looking at the logo of the Fruit of the Loom, in the comments, in just a few words, describe the Fruit of the Loom logo right now. In the comments right now, just without Googling it or thinking too hard, just write in the comments, in a few words, what the Fruit of the Loom logo consists of. There you go, cornucopia, fruit basket, grapes, fruit bowl, the fruit cornucopia. All right, this is exactly what I'm saying, gang. Now, look at this. This is what we're talking about, right? The classic Fruit of the Loom logo. There it is. Just like you guys said, it's grapes, it's fruit in a basket, or what is better known as a cornucopia. And this is a logo that personally is burnt into my mind. Growing up as a young boy, I often wore Fruit of the Loom underwear. I liked them because of the colorful fruit and this particular logo and tag. So much so, ladies and gentlemen, it was such a part of my life that as an adult, I have made it a point to not buy Fruit of the Loom because I feel it's childish, because I wore it so much growing up. It was the underwear I wore growing up. Tighty-whitey Fruit of the Looms was what I wore. So now I buy Hanes, I buy Adidas, I buy anything that's not, Puma. I buy anything that's not Fruit of the Loom. But here's the situation, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going to look at your comments anymore, but I see that we were all kind of in the same boat there. This is when the mind begins to melt, ladies and gentlemen, because the honest-to-God truth is there was never, ever a cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo. Now you say, wait, Clownvis, that doesn't make sense. I know that cornucopia. I've looked at that particular cornucopia 1,000 times, and it's burnt into my head. Ladies and gentlemen, you can do your own research. You can look at your own clothes. You can scour the internet, and you will not find a Fruit of the Loom logo with the cornucopia on there. Now, here's an example, is a timeline, a history timeline of the official logos of Fruit of the Loom starting in, 1893. I was off. So in 1893, you see it there, slightly different. Did have some brown flowers, but no cornucopia. Up through the 60s and 70s and the current, never a single cornucopia. Now, like I said, about 99% of the people that I've asked mentioned a cornucopia when I asked them to describe the logo for me. Now, that is not, it can't just be a fluke. Speaking of fluke, look at this. In 1973, Frank Wess put out this album called Fruit of the Loom, and it features a parody of what we think of as the Fruit of the Loom logo. Now, this album was not popular. This album did not change pop culture history. This album simply cannot be responsible for us associating a cornucopia with the logo. As a matter of fact, it's a parody, clearly, using the word flute, because this is a flautist album, and you make the flute a cornucopia, then someone drew that from their memory. Now, that was 1973. Over the last 50 years, there has been endless references to this cornucopia that doesn't exist. In the year 2006, there was a movie called Ant Bully, put out by Pixar, I believe. It's one of these animated movies. And just a quick screenshot will show you, you got a peek at a kid's underwear here, and it was that big cornucopia, you see. And it's a parody. It says something of the loin, you know, something different there. But obviously they are parodying the Fruit of the Loom logo. Whether they were looking at something or they were just drawing that from memory, which I assume they were, they put the cornucopia in there. Take a look at this news article. This was on a newspaper. It says, cornucopia of job cuts. Fruit of the Loom Incorporated is said to slash its U.S. workforce by 12%, blah, 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 blah. This product, Fruit of the Loom, the company is so synonymous with the cornucopia that a headline would be made that it's a cornucopia of job cuts. Now, on the internet, you'll come across people that even so clearly remember the conversation they had when they learned the word cornucopia, because they were looking at the underwear, looking at the logo, and said, Mama, Dada, what is this? What is that, a bugle? A bugle or a funnel or a horn? What is that? And no, son, that's a cornucopia. Ah, I learned the word cornucopia. Now, I 100%, without a doubt, I would bet my life on it, remember staring and wondering what that was before I learned what a cornucopia was, and then I remember looking at it and being like, I know what that is. That's a cornucopia. But look, it can go even deeper here besides that. This is kind of a gross one, so if you're squeamish, look away. But in the year 2012, the brilliant show, South Park, had a quick part of the show where Cartman, I believe, took a poo in his pants. But look at the logo there. It's just a quick parody of fruit in front of a cornucopia. Once again, proving we all think that there's a cornucopia there. Now, how in God's green earth, how on God's green earth, how in God's good name, would we collectively place this very specific looking cornucopia onto a logo that we've seen millions of times that it simply, provably, was never there? Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people refer to this phenomenon and group this particular situation in with the phenomenon called the Mandela Effect. Now, the Mandela Effect is something that we come across when a vast number of people will all truly believe or think the same thing when it's provably not true. It's like a different memory that everyone somehow has. A couple of key examples of this, and easy to cite examples. We all know the Flintstones, right? Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. We would bet $1 million that we could say their name is the Flintstones and spell the name the Flintstones. Their name is actually the Flintstones. And in the cartoon and on every piece of merchandise, you will see their name is the Flintstones. Now, another one here. You might remember this classic children's book from the 1980s and 70s, I believe, the Berenstain Bears. Well, now, after years and years of everybody knowing the Berenstain Bears, you look again, it's the Berenstain Bears. Now, how in the hell was every teacher and every kid wrong by calling them the Berenstain Bears when their name is clearly Berenstain, the Berenstain Bears? It's a weird one. Here's another example, ladies and gentlemen. Hands up, how many of you ate Jiffy peanut butter growing up, or how many of you still eat Jiffy peanut butter? Well, ladies and gentlemen, no, you don't. Jiffy peanut butter has never existed. It's not a real thing. There is Jif and there is Skippy. But as much as someone might put down a $100 bet, there is no such thing as Jiffy peanut butter. So how can we make sense of this? Is it simply the Mandela Effect, which, by the way, was named after Nelson Mandela, because when he died in 2013, a lot of people experienced this phenomenon that they thought 100% sure they remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, which isn't true. That didn't happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I have to say on this. I wish there was a definitive answer, but I can tell you this. I don't know for sure that the Fruit of the Loom conundrum belongs in the Mandela Effect. I would have to do more research and find out more about it. But I can tell you, within a reasonable doubt, I can understand maybe why the Flintstones were called the Flintstones, because in the song, they're saying, Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're not really saying, Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. So that's an easy one. Maybe that's how. The Berenstain Bears, maybe it's just, Steinstein. It's close. It's understandable. Jiffy, Jiff, Skippy. I can see it. I can get how that would be mixed up over time. These aren't full explanations, but they are little explanations. However, ladies and gentlemen, it simply does not make any sense. I can't believe, and I won't believe, that we all somehow magically put a cornucopia in a logo. Nobody uses the word cornucopia. Nobody talks about cornucopias. Cornucopias aren't assumed to be anywhere. Much less a fruit basket. A cornucopia would usually have pumpkins and squash and fall-colored things, not grapes. You don't put grapes and apples in a cornucopia. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish I had a final answer on this, but the more I think about it, the more I specifically remember that cornucopia. And I've looked on the internet and I've seen the fruit with different style cornucopias. Nothing looks even close to recognizable. But this particular cornucopia, I know that I've looked at, I know that I've thought about it, and here I am, scouring the internet, looking in my own underwear drawers for clues, and they are simply none to be found. So I would like to hear your comments of if you have any suggestions about what might be going down here, how this mix-up might have been happening. I'm a reasonable guy. I'm a believable guy. I believe, I don't believe in that much hocus pocus, but this is what I would officially call a mind bender, ladies and gentlemen. So let me know in the comments what you think and how in the world I can get over this, man, because I can't even sleep. But this is definitely the fruit of the loom. Mandela conundrum is something that makes me say, wow. Wow. Wow.